Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. So today we're discussing the Breitling Bentley Supersports. This is the Supersports light body, but an exceptional example that was built for participants in the 2016 Alpine Extraordinary Drive. So what is that? Well, first things first. This model was launched in 2012. It's named after the Supersports, that is the flagship of the Bentley Continental GT model line, light body because it's titanium. And this Supersports light body is, of course, dedicated to those who actually took part in the week-long drive from Essex in England to Verbier in Switzerland, which included everything from dining to skiing, and of course was built around Bentley automobiles. So this is sort of an addition within an addition. It is part of the 1,000-piece series that was the Supersports light body, but only people who actually went on the drive get this customized caseback. Rest assured, there were not 1,000 people driving in convoy. So it's a big watch. It's based on the frame of what was once known as the Big Navitimer in the late 60s and 70s, so 49 millimeters in diameter in titanium, 15.3 millimeters thick, and 55 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So now, on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see pretty plainly this watch is too big for me. Strangely, it's not way too big for me, to the point where I could say if your wrist is even just a little bit larger than mine, this is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, but this is probably going to look just fine on your wrist. So let's say 17, 18 centimeter circumference wrists if you really want to be careful, and this will wear quite well. It is very light, and it's surprisingly thin. As big as it is, it's thin enough that it will fit underneath a decent number of sleeves and all jacket cuffs. So getting close again, you can see that what we're dealing with here is grade 2 titanium. It's all brushed, and it's got nice matte finish, hypoallergenic, very light. The strap is a lovely piece that has some molded contours to suggest a bracelet, and then a diminishing tapered Bentley branding, along with Breitling Bentley branding on the hollows of the underside. So this is a specific strap for these models. This is not a generic Breitling rubber strap. The buckle is actually Breitling's best. So this piece features a twin trigger release rather than a clamshell lock. And then internally there's a push button that gives you a few incremental detented degrees of adjustment. And of course, the strap is designed to be cut to length, and this is an uncut example, so we will cut this to length for you so it fits perfectly. You can also see that there's a little recess or revetment in the flank of the case so that the strap can be held very close to the case profile for a very integrated look. There's little daylight showing between the two. Also, because the strap is so far inboard, it makes the fit a little bit better if you have one of those borderline sized wrists. A quick note, this watch does have a screw down crown. It is 100 meters water resistant, but this is not a helium escape valve. This is actually the cover for the differential system for this rather deluxe version of Breitling's circular slide rule logarithmic calculator. So if you just watch my finger, just take a look at where my nail is and then watch the 1. You can see as these things move, the 1 is actually outrunning my fingernail. So there is a differential action. It's not as though the bezel is simply directly connected to the scale. That's what this little differential accomplishes. It's a gearing system. Taking a look at the dial, of course, this is Bentley themed, and Bentley is famed for its success in endurance sports car racing, especially at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, so it makes sense to have a chronograph along those lines. So you've got a chrono that works a little bit like a Le Mans 5100, where you've got center seconds, but then you've also got a center minutes display. And this center minutes display is in 60-minute format and radial. You'll also note that there is a superimposed set of hour and minute hands, so you actually have 2 minute hands, both in a 60-minute format. Here's your running seconds, and then you have the scale outboard, which is both tachymetric. As you can see, there's a 1,000 unit tachymetric scale for gauging speed. Inboard, there's what's called a decimeter scale. That's what that 0 to 100 scale is. Not commonly used. Once upon a time it was considered relevant. It's more of an anachronism today. And then you have the logarithmic scale calculator outboard. And the best way to describe this is that it works in the opposite way of the standard Navitimer. So for example, with the Navitimer, if you want to perform division, you work like a fraction. You put the number to be divided over the number that will be dividing it. So for example, if I put 6 over 3, I'd look at the index at 1, and I'd see 2. This works the opposite way. I put 6 over the index at 1, and this little red hours and 1, that is the index, the inner index. So now 6 over 1, let's say I want to divide 6 by 3. I go to 3 on the inner scale, and now I see 2. Now let's say I want to multiply 4 and 3. Well, I put 4 over 3, then I go to the index, and you got to keep the decimals in mind, but 4 times 3 is 12. So 1.2, if we adjust the decimals mentally, that's 12. Very simple. I'm not quite sure why the Bentley version, which is automotive inspired, works in the opposite way of the standard Navitimer, but now that you know how, you should be able to breeze through this. The dial features some black lacquered highlights around the inner scale, but for the most part it's matte black. Take a good look at the hands. You can see that they are all frosted and matte finished for high contrast. And then we have applied rhodium-plated steel hour indices. We'll do quick loom shots. You can get a sense of that. You can see the time, but not the chronograph functions. And this is a modular chronograph, so if you look carefully, you can see the center lines of the chronograph pushers are just a little bit above the center line of the crown. Crown feels good. It's got nice sharp knurling that makes it easy to grip. So obviously, I've got hacking seconds. Look very carefully. You can see that there's a little frosted silver surround for the date, and that the date wheel itself features subtly burgundy-colored numerals, which I really like. It is automatic winding, 42-hour power reserve, 5-position adjusted, a COSC chronometer. What Breitling considers the caliber 27 is an ETA2892A2 with the Breitling chronograph module on top with the double coaxial register, the hours and the minutes, and then the radial display system. So that's what you're looking at right there. So 4 hertz beat rate, bidirectional winding, 42-hour power reserve, 5-position adjustment, COSC, stop seconds, quick set date, and then the module. If you look very carefully, you can see that the module is a seamless engagement with vertical clutch action. Turn it all over, and you can see on the reverse side, Bentley Motors, a long time association between Bentley and Breitling. And then, of course, certified chronometer made in Switzerland. Here's the reference. E means titanium, 27 is the caliber, 3 means it's a chronometer. This is number 201 of 1000, and then the commemoration of the extraordinary drive. So if you're taking your Breitling for Bentley and your Bentley, presumably, out for an extraordinary drive, this is a great way to do it. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.